Most men labor for money, yet few ever control it. Today I reveal why the powerful never serve wealth. They command it. If you continue to obey money, it will devour you. Learn the 13 rules that turn fortune into a tool of dominion. Observe the world with clarity. Men are blind to the subtle laws that govern wealth. Money is not mere currency, it is a force, indifferent and merciless, bending only to those who understand its mechanics. In this shadowed theater of human desire, one can either be enslaved or ascend. This is not a lesson in morality, it is a lesson in power. I will guide you through the cold truths that allow a man to master money, rather than be mastered by it. Do you serve money, or does money serve you? Pause and consider this. Most men labor endlessly, chasing coins as if each one were a talisman guaranteeing safety, influence, or respect. They toil, they strategize, they scheme, and yet they remain slaves to the very thing they pursue. Why? Because they have misunderstood the first and most essential truth: money is a tool, not a master. Imagine the courts of Renaissance Italy. Princes and merchants alike coveted wealth, yet only a few understood how to bend it to their will. Lorenzo de' Medici, for example, did not merely accumulate gold, he orchestrated it, shaping Florence's politics with coins that whispered allegiance, loyalty, and fear. The powerful do not follow money, they command it, and those who fail to see this are condemned to serve, to grovel, and to envy. You must ask yourself, when you clutch your earnings, are you holding them, or are they holding you? Do they dictate your choices, your movements, your desires? Most men wake, labor, and sleep within a cage of their own making, blinded by the illusion of security. Money, left to its own devices, enslaves. It creates dependency, both in yourself and in those around you. It breeds comfort, which in turn breeds stagnation. Observe the psychology of this. The human mind is conditioned to respond to scarcity and reward. Gold triggers desire, and desire breeds obedience. The man who bows to money bows to the mechanisms of human instinct itself. You must recognize this and exploit it. Do not be the man whose fears dictate his ledger. Be the one who dictates the fears of others through his wealth. Control the flow of funds, the timing, the distribution. Make the coin an extension of your will and not the other way around. Consider historical precedents. Think of Nicola, Machiavelli's own counsel to princes. A ruler who allows his coffers to rule his decisions is already weakened, vulnerable to manipulation and betrayal. Wealth is a silent army. It marches only where you command it. When wielded correctly, it secures alliances, bends rivals, and hides the truth behind its glittering facade. But when wielded poorly, it becomes a leash around your neck, tightening with every misplaced trust or rash investment. The lesson extends beyond the corridors of power and into the markets of everyday life. Look around. How many men borrow to appear richer than they are? How many sacrifice freedom for immediate gratification, allowing debt and obligation to shape their choices? They are, in essence, dancing to the tune of a master they cannot see. Ask yourself, what are you willing to surrender to money? Time, integrity, your independence. The powerful never surrender these. They orchestrate their wealth so that it serves as the silent engine of their ambition. Let us consider manipulation in its purest form. A cunning merchant does not merely sell wares, he creates dependence. He lends coins when necessary, withholds them when advantageous, and always leaves others wanting more. This is the art of financial control, the subtle transformation of wealth into influence, of gold into obedience. You too can employ such strategy in your life, but only if you first see the truth: money does not reward the timid. It serves the bold, the calculating, the patient predator who understands that every coin is a soldier, every banknote a spy, every investment a lever in the machinery of power. And yet, most men fail because they confuse possession with mastery. Owning gold is not mastery. Holding it with vision is. The ability to deploy resources strategically, to withdraw when advantageous, to tempt and then restrain. This is what separates the enslaved from the sovereign. Your wealth should never dictate your desires. It should execute them. So, I ask you again, who serves whom in your life? Are you a puppet to your finances or a conductor of them? Every man faces this choice, but only a few see it clearly enough to act. Only a few realize that to command money is to command opportunity itself, shaping the world in ways invisible to those still shackled by ignorance. In the next segment, we will explore the delicate art of appearances, the second battlefield where money wields its quietest, deadliest power. For now, let this settle in your mind. Until you control the coin, you remain its servant, and true freedom will always elude you. Do you understand the power of appearances, or do you dismiss them as trivial vanity? Observe the world with unflinching eyes. Men do not act merely on truth, but on perception. Wealth, influence, and authority are often judged not by substance, but by the image projected. A prince who appears strong commands obedience, a merchant who appears prosperous commands respect. And yet, most men squander their fortunes through carelessness, revealing weakness where cunning could have concealed dominance. Consider the courts of Europe. Monarchs and ministers waged wars not only with armies, but with whispers, displays, and spectacle. Louis XIV, the Sun King, understood this instinctively. His grandeur, the gilded halls, the orchestration of ceremonies, the carefully curated public persona, ensured that nobles and commoners alike bowed before him, often without a single sword drawn. Perception, in such cases, was more formidable than any army. Can you see the lesson? To control wealth is not enough. You must also control how it is seen. Ask yourself, do your actions convey power, or do they reveal dependence? Do your possessions intimidate, inspire, or merely satisfy your own ego? Men are quick to judge, and their judgments shape alliances, opportunities, and loyalties. Those who fail to manage appearances are vulnerable, exposed to manipulation by sharper minds who understand the subtle machinery of influence. There is a psychological truth here. Humans are creatures of pattern and story. They interpret signals, infer intentions, and assign value based on cues that are often superficial. A lavish table, a well-timed gesture, a subtle hint of generosity. These are instruments of control, far more potent than direct confrontation. You must learn to play the same game. Do not underestimate the silent power of perception. It is invisible, yet it binds minds more tightly than chains ever could. History is replete with lessons. Consider the Medici family, who built Florence not only on commerce, but on carefully managed appearances. Public acts of patronage, the display of wealth in art and architecture, cultivated respect and fear simultaneously. The coins in their vaults were merely tools. It was the image of abundance and influence they projected that secured loyalty, deterred rivals, and perpetuated their dominion. Wealth alone could not achieve this. Only wealth dressed in the language of perception. And yet, most men stumble in this arena. How often do you see the rich flaunt their fortune in a way that invites envy rather than respect? They display ostentation without strategy, signaling vulnerability instead of authority. The human eye and mind are deceptive instruments. They respond to subtlety more than brute force. When you master appearances, you exploit these instincts. You guide the judgments of others without revealing your hand. You allow them to serve your will, convinced they act of their own volition. Let us examine manipulation in practice. A shrewd lender does not simply offer credit. He cultivates a reputation for generosity and discernment. A cunning entrepreneur does not merely sell goods. He creates the perception of scarcity, desirability, and excellence. Each calculated gesture, each deliberate display, reshapes the beliefs of those around him, ensuring compliance, admiration, or fear. The world responds not to what you possess, but to what others believe you possess. Do you see the subtle tyranny of perception? Reflect on your own life. Are your actions aligned with the image you wish to project, or are you blind to the silent judgments that govern every interaction? Every handshake, every conversation, every social appearance either strengthens your influence or undermines it. Appearances are the silent currency of power, and those who treat them lightly are forever indebted to circumstance, reputation, and the cunning of others. In truth, perception is a battlefield where money and power intersect. You may hold vast wealth, yet without the skill to display it wisely, you remain a pawn. Conversely, a man of modest means, who understands the language of appearances, can command influence far beyond his coffers. This is the paradox that blinds the untrained. Reality matters less than the story told, less than the careful choreography of image and intent. So, I ask you, what story do your coins tell? Are they your servants, or do they betray you through neglect and mismanagement? Master the art of appearances, and wealth becomes an instrument of silent dominion, bending others without force. Fail, and even gold will mock you. Next, we will uncover the ruthless mechanics of control itself. How the distribution and timing of wealth can make men dependent, pliable, and ultimately obedient. Until then, remember this: in the theater of influence, those who are seen as powerful, do you grasp the subtle power of control, or do you think influence is won through force alone? Consider this: the true master does not merely possess wealth. He dictates its flow. The timing, the distribution, the conditions under which it is given or withheld. All these are instruments of dominion. Money, when wielded with precision, shapes behavior, molds alliances, and bends even the most obstinate wills. And yet, most men squander this power, dispersing their fortune without foresight, allowing their resources to serve others rather than themselves. Look to the merchant princes of Venice. They did not merely trade in goods, they traded in dependence. Loans were given not solely for profit, but for leverage. Ships' cargo lent at the right moment could create a client bound by gratitude, fear, or obligation. Each coin was a lever, each credit a thread in a web of influence. By controlling access to wealth, they controlled not only markets, but men themselves. Ask yourself, are you using your resources, or are they using you? Consider the psychology of dependency. Human desire is insatiable, satisfaction is temporary, and need always returns. When you control the means by which others meet their desires, you gain an invisible power over them. They act with restraint where they might otherwise act freely. They bend where they might otherwise resist. They negotiate with care where they might otherwise demand. The mere knowledge that one's survival or comfort depends on your favor is a subtle but absolute form of authority. History provides countless illustrations. The Medici did not merely lend, they orchestrated reliance. They distributed wealth selectively, rewarding loyalty and punishing insubordination through omission rather than confrontation. A palace funded here, a contract granted there, a loan deferred at the perfect moment. All were instruments to cultivate obedience. Even kings, ostensibly sovereign, often bowed to the invisible hand of the financier who controlled their access to fortune. This is the quiet tyranny that few perceive until it is too late. You must also consider human nature. Men are rarely grateful for opportunity, they are hungry for more. This hunger is a tool. When you make your wealth conditional, when you make your favor scarce, you shape behavior. You teach those around you to value your judgment, to seek your approval, to anticipate your decisions. And in doing so, you place yourself above the fray, a conductor of wills, rather than a participant in the chaotic dance of desire. Let us examine this in practical terms. A modern entrepreneur may choose to invest selectively, withholding funds until the moment when their impact will yield maximum leverage. A lender may structure contracts with precision, ensuring that dependence grows over time rather than immediately. Each strategic pause, each controlled release, is an exercise of power. And yet, so many squander this principle, offering their resources indiscriminately, unaware that every coin given without thought strengthens the autonomy of others and diminishes their own authority. Reflect on your own life. How often do you act with blind generosity, believing in reciprocity, only to be outmaneuvered by those who understand leverage? True control is invisible. It is not the coin in your hand that binds others. It is the understanding of its potential to command, to reward, to punish, and to dictate choices. Those who grasp this principle act with patience and cunning. They let desire accumulate, they let dependence deepen, and they strike with precision at the exact moment advantage dictates. There is a paradox here: the less obvious the control, the greater its effect. People rarely resist what they do not perceive. You may lend without seeming to lend, invest without seeming to invest, withhold without seeming to withhold. In the shadows of subtlety, you shape behavior, loyalty, and fear. Power is quiet, invisible, and irresistible when applied with this art. So I ask you now, do your resources serve your ambition, or do they float freely in the world, empowering others more than yourself? Every coin you distribute, every opportunity you grant, every favor you extend can either reinforce your dominion or weaken it. The choice is yours, but only if you see clearly, act deliberately, and embrace the ruthless logic of control. In the next segment, we will confront the uncomfortable truth. Those who fail to exploit ignorance and weakness become prey. Until then, remember this: true power lies not in possession, but in the mastery of dependence, and the man who commands desire commands the world itself. Do you recognize the advantage in exploiting the ignorance of others, or do you naively assume that men act rationally? Observe carefully. Most people are blind to the mechanics of wealth and power. They chase fortune without understanding its principles, trusting in luck, sentiment, or fairness. Such blindness is a weapon for those who see clearly. To manipulate the unaware is not cruelty, it is strategy. And strategy, when executed with precision, ensures dominance. Consider the princes of Renaissance Italy. Many were surrounded by advisors, merchants, and rivals who coveted their favor, yet only a few secured lasting influence. Why? Because they understood that men who do not see the underlying forces are easily guided. Cosimo de' Medici, for instance, cultivated ignorance as deftly as he cultivated loyalty. He allowed his rivals to overestimate their own leverage while subtly consolidating control. Those blind to the web around them became pawns, never realizing they were dancing to his design. Ask yourself, who around you is ignorant of true value? Who overestimates their own freedom or underestimates your capacity for foresight? Human weakness is predictable. Desire, fear, vanity, and insecurity are constants. The man who exploits these traits shapes behavior without ever raising a sword. The clever financier, the cunning strategist, the silent manipulator. These are the ones who thrive while the knave falter. There is a psychological lesson here. People are more influenced by perception than reality, by fear than logic. When they believe themselves in control, they act confidently. When they sense scarcity, they bend to the one who provides abundance. Knowledge, or the lack thereof, is a lever. And like all levers, it can move great weights when applied at the right angle. To command others, you need not reveal your full strength. You need only exploit what they fail to see. History offers countless illustrations. Take the merchants of the Dutch Republic, masters of trade and finance. They rarely confronted rivals directly. Instead, they leveraged misinformation, scarcity, and strategic alliances. They created environments in which competitors misjudged their position, overextended their resources, or misread intentions. The result: control without confrontation, dominance without overt aggression. The ignorant man's errors became the instrument of his own subjugation. In your own life, reflect upon this. How often do others act against their own interest because they lack perspective? How often do they fail to anticipate your intentions, even when you have made them clear in subtle ways? This is not luck, it is human nature. Those who can read the patterns understand weaknesses and exploit the unseen gaps gain influence that is nearly absolute. The key is to remain invisible in your calculations, while letting the consequences of ignorance play out before you. Observe also the lesson in restraint. The manipulator does not expose his hand fully. He creates a narrative that others believe, while bending that narrative to his own ends. He allows others to feel victorious, to take credit, to misjudge the situation, while he quietly accumulates advantage. Every misstep by the unaware is fuel for your strategy. Every error of perception strengthens your position. The less they know, the more powerful you become. Consider the modern equivalent. A savvy investor uses the inexperience of competitors to seize opportunity, timing markets when the ignorant panic. A negotiator manipulates information to make the other party believe they have leverage, while the true power remains concealed. In every context, The principle is constant. Those blind to reality are malleable, and those who recognize it can bend events to their will. So, I ask you, are you exploiting ignorance, or are you falling victim to it? Every man who fails to see the weakness of those around him is doomed to be manipulated. Every moment you hesitate, every coin you hand over without thought, every opportunity you allow the unaware to seize. These are victories for others and losses for you. Strategy demands that you observe, calculate, and act while others stumble blindly. In the next segment, we will confront the cold mechanics of audacity, how the bold seize fortune and respect where caution falters, and why hesitation is the greatest enemy of power. For now, remember this: the ignorant serve the wise, not by choice, but because the wise understand the terrain of human weakness. Do you know why the bold rise while the cautious remain stagnant? Ask yourself, when fortune appears, do you hesitate, weighing risk against comfort, or do you strike with precision, seizing what is yours by right of will? The timid admire opportunity from afar, paralyzed by doubt. The audacious, however, command it. Fortune favors neither morality nor caution. It rewards those who act decisively, with eyes wide open and intent unwavering. History is replete with examples. Think of Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon. The Senate hesitated, debating legality and consequence, while Caesar understood the immutable law of action. Hesitation invites defeat. By acting boldly, he transformed a gamble into conquest. Wealth, power, and influence operate on the same principle. Those who delay, who overanalyze, who cling to the safety of incremental steps, allow the world, and men less skilled but more daring, to pass them by. Ask yourself, do you wait for the perfect moment, or do you create it? The world does not pause for hesitation. Fortune smiles on the calculated risk-taker, not on the man paralyzed by indecision. Every opportunity delayed is an opportunity surrendered. And yet, audacity is not recklessness, it is foresight married to courage. The audacious understand the landscape, measure the variables, and strike when timing aligns with advantage. The timid, however, mistake caution for wisdom, and in doing so, they surrender to mediocrity. Consider the merchants of Florence, who shaped the city not merely through accumulation, but through bold maneuvering. They lent, invested, and expanded aggressively, often in ventures that seemed perilous to the untrained eye. Yet risk, when guided by intelligence and observation, became the instrument of supremacy. Their audacity created empires of commerce and influence. The timid, observing their success, could only envy or imitate, often too late. Can you see the principle? Boldness, when disciplined, multiplies both wealth and power exponentially. Psychology reinforces this truth. Men respect decisiveness. Hesitation signals weakness. Action signals authority. When you move boldly, others follow, not necessarily because they agree, but because they recognize strength. Fear, admiration, and compliance are often the byproducts of audacity. When you seize opportunity with deliberate courage, you create momentum that is difficult to resist. Conversely, hesitation allows doubt to infiltrate not only your mind, but the minds of those around you. Authority becomes negotiable, influence becomes conditional, and the hesitant man becomes invisible. Let us examine manipulation in its audacious form. A shrewd financier may invest in a venture deemed too risky by competitors. By doing so, he captures advantage, securing resources, alliances, and leverage while others linger in indecision. A strategist may present a bold plan, appearing fearless, compelling allies and rivals alike to follow or yield. In every case, boldness is not mere bravado, it is a psychological tool, shaping perception and controlling action. Those who hesitate are manipulated by circumstance, while those who act boldly manipulate circumstance itself. Even in modern business or politics, the principle holds. The deal maker who strikes decisively captures contracts that the hesitant only dream of. The entrepreneur who launches before perfection has arrived secures markets that perfectionists will forever chase. Fortune, markets, and influence favor audacity, for the timid always retreat at the first sign of uncertainty. Every delay is an opportunity surrendered, every doubt a gift to competitors. Ask yourself, are you bold enough to act when opportunity arises, Or do you allow hesitation to dictate your fate? Boldness is not instinct alone. It is cultivated through observation, calculation, and a willingness to embrace the consequences of decisive action. To seize fortune, you must understand when to hold, when to advance, and when to strike. Delay is luxury, reserved only for the indifferent. For those who hunger for power, hesitation is a betrayal of ambition. So I challenge you, examine your life, your resources, your ambitions. How often do you allow doubt to dictate action? How often do you defer decisions that could shape your destiny? Boldness is the engine of wealth, the magnet of influence, and the silent language of power. To hesitate is to be forgotten, to act decisively is to command destiny itself. In the next segment, we will explore the ultimate intersection of wealth, perception, and control, the subtle art of ensuring that others depend on you entirely, willingly or unwittingly. Until then, remember this: audacity is not reckless. It is the currency of those who refuse to serve fortune and instead compel it to serve them. Power is silent. Influence is invisible. Those who bend men without their knowledge wield the greatest force in any room. Ask yourself who truly follows your will and who merely believes they do. The line between control and submission is drawn in subtle gestures, in unseen strings, in wealth and perception carefully orchestrated. Do you command or are you commanded? Do men act by your design or by their own folly? Every smile, every favor, every carefully timed action can be a lever. Every misjudgment by others is fuel for your dominion. Master this, and the world becomes a chessboard. Fail, and you are merely a pawn, oblivious to the hands that move you. Now, I turn the question to you. How will you wield this knowledge? Where will you apply these truths of human weakness and desire? Comment your thoughts below. Subscribe to sharpen your mind with more Machiavellian strategies. Share this video and let others learn. Some to emulate, others to envy. Remember,